AITA for publicly revealing who my biological parents are on Facebook and kind of messing things up for them. I was given up for adoption when I was a baby by my parents, who were 19 years old. Due to reasons, I was taken from my adoptive parents and put in foster care when I was 11 and remained in the system until I went to college. When I turned 18, I was given my mother's contact information by someone. I found out she was married to my biological father. They had public profiles on Facebook and Instagram. I ended up messaging my mother, who never responded. I then tried to message my father, who basically replied saying that he's sorry, but they would rather not have me in their lives. That it took them a while to grieve over giving me up, and that they don't want to go through all that pain again. Well, at this point I got pretty pissed, because I think it's kind of shitty they think they can prevent me from knowing the rest of my family. I ended up messaging my grandmother, my mother's mom, who was actually happy to know me. I met her in person and we really bonded. I also have 2 younger siblings, but I didn't contact them after what my father said. Well, 4 months ago, I saw my father post of a picture of them at some church event and say my beautiful wife and our 2 amazing kids. This was on their church Facebook page. This was probably wrong, but I replied with a comment saying, "Don't you mean 3 kids?" I didn't really expect the amount of people responding to that as I did. There were a bunch of people my parents knew that started asking questions. I freaked out and deleted my comment. Then I started getting DMs from people, including people I was related to. Later that day, my grandmother made a post confirming I was a child given up for adoption. So now, I started making connections with some extended family and have been to a few family parties. My parents have been told they aren't invited unless they accept me, which they haven't. The whole drama has kind of messed with their lives and business. My parents are now apparently separated. I don't really accept that as my fault. AITA for doing what I did. #be civil link. reddit.com/r/amethysthole/about/rules/ please review our fact link. reddit.com/r/amethysthole/wiki/fact if you're unsure what that means. AITA, but only for specifically making that comment. You didn't need to do that. They did respond to you and ask for their privacy. They didn't stop you from connecting with your grandmother. Otherwise you were perfectly fine reaching out to them and would even be fine resenting them. AITA, I'm sorry that you never had a relationship with your biological parents, but you know what you did was wrong. You cold made those connections through grandma instead in a much easier way, but you overstepped. I think the AITA judgment is warranted. However, I empathize with Opus. Most of the people in this thread probably have no idea what it is like to not have parents in your life. It's something many people take for granted. I wasn't adopted or in foster care, so I don't know what that's like. But my mother was a teen parent. She was extremely abusive. Told me she wished she had an abortion. And never showed any affection or love to me. I have spent my entire life feeling empty. I left home, and she never cared. She ended up having 3 other kids who she completely loved and cared for. It always felt like she sees them as her real family, and I was just a mistake that tainted her life. I had to learn how to take care of myself completely on my own. I didn't know what periods were by the time I started mine. I was developmentally behind compared to other kids. I used to steal food from the school cafeteria and steal books from the Scholastic Book Fair just to have things that other kids had. I never have and never will know what it is like to have a mother's love. I at least have a relationship with my dad and his side of the family, but it constantly feels like there's a hole in my chest that will always be there. When you're in a situation like that, sometimes you just desperately grasp at any possibility of making that hole go away. It's not always logical, but you just get so desperate for anything. Anything someone can give you to make you feel less alone. And sometimes you get so desperate that you just want people to feel some sense of responsibility for your pain. I'm not saying what Op did was right, just sharing some thoughts. My heart goes out to you, stranger. I hope things are going well for you. Reading this made my heart ache a little. AITA, and I say this as an adopted kid. These people are your biological parents, but they aren't your parents. That was by design. By the choice that they made and then recently affirmed for you. It's okay to be hurt by that. My BO family has been less than welcoming to me too. So I get it. But you publicly violated a boundary that they'd already made clear to you. Extenuating circumstances don't change that fact. You blew their lives up. Publicly. Because you were hurt. Being hurt and angry is understandable and acceptable. Publicly shaming these people by lashing out at them as you did, however, definitely isn't. Edit to add, I was also adopted into a family with a very abusive dad that I've been NC with for over a decade. If that context matters. Being victimized doesn't mean that it's then okay to lash out at other people. I'm adopted myself, and maybe it's because my family was good overall. But I don't have a desire to even meet my biological parents. My parents ended up getting divorced, but they don't love me any less. So while it was rocky for a while, it got better after that. But it's never crossed my mind to meet my BO parents. And if they didn't want to meet me, I'd completely understand and wouldn't be hurt at all. They were also young and unmarried and made the difficult choice to give me up in hopes of have a better life than what they could provide. AITA. Your BO father gave you a perfectly reasonable explanation as to why they wanted to remain no contact. Not only did you go around that, but you publicly humiliated them because you were holding a grudge. I get not feeling accepted by your birth parents suck. But that is not the way to have a relationship with them. Now any relationship you may have hoped to have in the future is most likely never going to happen. They had their reasons and secrets. You are an adult. You should know about respecting people's privacy by now. That it took them a while to grieve over giving me up and that they don't want to go through all that pain again. I probably don't understand their explanation, but maybe someone can explain. How would they be going through it again? The pain of putting her up for adoption? Or if they meet her, bond with her, and she leaves again? I'm not trying to make a point. I honestly don't understand their explanation. Basically just dragging up old bad memories. It's not that they'll go through it again so much that they can't deal with the lingering emotions and memories from when they did it. I don't think it's a valid reason, but to each their own. Edit. Fixed a word. AITA didn't respect their right to privacy and stalked them on social media. You were told to let go, yet you kept pushing. Throwing cheeky comments on social media when no one is aware of your ties is not a way to go about it. And then you forced yourself to meet the rest of my family when you were clearly told to keep your distance. Now you see nothing wrong with their family falling apart and you don't accept it as your fault. I personally find your behavior disgusting. In this case, Op had a failed adoption. However, if I were a parent or grandparent in a successful adoption, I would be incredibly hurt if I suddenly had to share my child with these other people just because my child is biologically related to them. Maybe it is selfish and not entirely rational, but I think it is human to not want to share parent status with other people. I raised the child. I gave the child love and care and a happy home. Why should I have to split the parent status with another random couple? I don't want to ever have to make accommodations with some other random family on holidays on whom my child will spend that holiday with. Modern technology has completely ruined the idea of adoption. For me, my husband and I chose to not have kids, but maybe adopt if we decided later that we wanted children. But this idea of having the birth family forever stuck in our lives is very off-putting. I know this is an unpopular opinion on Reddit, but it is enough of a thorn that I would consider never having the joy of children than adopting. Agreed. This stories make me rethink adopting in the future, since I don't want biological kids either. Yes, AITA, you intentionally disrespected their wishes. I get it. It sucks. I was put up for adoption myself, and even went through a failed adoption too. But that doesn't mean you get a pass on shitting on their wishes like that. That was pretty much the worst way you could have gone about things. You could have quietly started reaching out to people who seemed related to them through private messages. It isn't your fault that they seem to have separated. But it is a total asshole move what you did. It because of how you went about things, not because you wanted to know your family. Edit. You know, I find it interesting how many people here aren't considering how Odd it is that literally no one in their family knew about the op. Not even the maternal grandmother. How so few people are thinking here. How exactly did two 19-year-old kids get pregnant and give a child up, and even their parents didn't know? What kind of relationship did they have with their families that they had to keep something like that a secret? Why couldn't they depend on their family for support? But no. They are all how dare they not want a relationship with that child now? And congrats on finding a loving family. Where was this loving family when two 19-year-old kids felt that the best option for their child was to give them up for adoption? It is not easy to keep a full-term pregnancy a secret from family who actually cares about you. So, the fact that they did, maybe there was a good reason for it. Honestly, op needs counseling. Yes, probably does. Not sure if they actually will though, since they got the result they wanted, and think because of that what they did was okay as evidenced by comments they've made. AITA, your comment was only meant to shame them and cause them problems. Yeah, I agree. Really applies to all passive-aggressive behaviors. It is shitty that they have established a boundary excluding you from their lives. But that's a decision they're making about their lives. Just like you get to make decisions about your life. Your move came when you made a decision about their lives that wasn't your decision to make. I cannot imagine the amount of pain this experience, from start to now, has caused. Our pain absolutely influences our poor decision making. But it doesn't justify it. It sounds like there is a lot of grieving and healing that needs to be done internally. To cope with the absolutely unfair and shitty things you have had to deal with, I recommend seeking counseling. Most providers are using some form of telehealth right now, and most insurance is covering telehealth due to COVID-19. Info: how old are their other kids? I'm surprised by the lack of comments. These people seem to have really put up a "we're a good, nuclear Christian family" sort of front, and frankly I find that massively hypocritical of them because, you know, they shunned off from knowing any of the rest of the family and forced him/her to remain as an orphaned outcast. NTA everyone who said AITA is trying to get a rise out of people with their dumb opinions. Your parents are shitbags and your grandmother will stand behind you. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.